Why does the Middle East look like it was drawn with a ruler? Why do civil wars, coups, and invasions keep erupting in the same spots again and again? And why do the names of cities, Baghdad, Cairo, Jerusalem, echo through every headline and every war? If you think the chaos started with ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or the Arab Spring, you're only scratching the surface. The deeper truth? Much of today's instability was engineered a century ago by a distant empire that redrew the map and rewrote the rules. This is the story of how the British Empire didn't just conquer the Middle East, it shaped it, politically, economically, and violently. And the consequences, they're still with us, in every uprising, every broken border, and every foreign intervention. If you're interested in untold stories that still shape our world, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because what you're about to discover is the hidden architecture of a modern crisis. In the 1800s, Britain was the superpower of the world. Its empire stretched from Canada to India, from Australia to Africa. But to keep it all connected, especially to India, it needed the Middle East. The region wasn't just sand and tribes, it was the crossroads of empire. Whoever controlled it controlled global trade routes and military movement. In 1869, the opening of the Suez Canal made Egypt the lifeline of the empire. So in 1882, Britain invaded and occupied Egypt, not for its own sake, but to protect the canal. Meanwhile, Britain was eyeing another treasure oil. In 1908, vast oil fields were discovered in Persia, now Iran. It was the beginning of a new global addiction, and the British made sure they got the lion's share through companies like the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. By the early 20th century, Britain wasn't just passing through the Middle East. It was digging in, building bases, signing treaties with tribal rulers, and setting the stage for permanent influence. When World War I broke out, the British, well, they really needed allies. So they made three contradictory promises, all at the same time. First, to the Arabs. If they revolted against the Ottoman Empire, Britain would support their independence. This was the Hussein-McMahon Correspondence, basically a promise of an Arab kingdom. Second, to the French, Britain signed the Sykes-Picot Agreement, secretly dividing the Middle East between them. According to that map, there would be no Arab independence. Third, in 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration supporting a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Three promises, all mutually exclusive. And after the war, Britain acted on just one, its own interests. After the Ottoman defeat, Britain occupied large parts of the former empire, especially Iraq, Palestine, and Transjordan. But these countries didn't exist as states before. British officials, many of whom had never even set foot in the region, sat around tables in London and Cairo and literally drew borders. Sometimes they followed tribal lines, other times they ignored them, and always they served British strategy. Iraq was stitched together from three Ottoman provinces, Sunni, Shia, and Kurdish, and handed to a king who had never lived there. Jordan was carved out of Palestine and given to another Hashemite prince. Palestine became a mandate under British rule, with rising tensions between Arabs and incoming Jewish immigrants. These borders weren't natural, they were engineered, and from day one they were fragile. To maintain control, Britain didn't always use direct rule. Instead, it propped up kings, loyal, dependent, and often unpopular. In Egypt, they maintained the monarchy even after granting independence. In Iraq and Jordan, they installed Hashemite rulers. In the Gulf, they made treaties with tribal sheikhs. This system ensured British access to trade routes, oil, and military bases. But it also meant that local populations were excluded from real power. Opposition movements were crushed, parliaments were symbolic, and resentment grew. By the 1930s and 40s, nationalist movements were rising across the region. People demanded real independence, not puppet governments. Revolts broke out in Iraq, Palestine, and Egypt. Britain responded with military force, bombing villages, arresting leaders, censoring media. In Palestine, British policies fueled tensions between Arabs and Jews, laying the groundwork for a conflict that honestly continues to this day. Eventually, the empire began to collapse. But by then, the damage had been done. The artificial borders, the client regimes, the sectarian divides, the legacy of divide and rule, they didn't disappear. They became the architecture of post-colonial states. The British Empire no longer rules the Middle East, but its fingerprints are everywhere, in the borders that still don't make sense, in the regimes that rose and those that fell, in the conflicts that ignite again and again. This isn't ancient history. It's the blueprint behind every modern headline, from Baghdad to Gaza, from Damascus to Riyadh. Empires may fall, but the lines they draw, the chaos they seed, often outlive them by centuries. If you found this episode eye-opening, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, because we'll be uncovering more stories that shape the world we live in. Let's keep questioning the maps we inherited, and the empires that drew them.